I cannot believe I've got Haley Williams and Zach Farrow here with me tonight from Paramore.
Hi.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on the show. I do this show every Friday night, and it's where we play nothing but female artists for the entire
cool.
hour.
Oh, yes, that's
awesome.
right.
Yes. And I started the show. It'll be 2 years this February.
Sick.
And top of my list has been
Oh, hey, congrats. That's a really amazing thing.
Thank you. I've been so lucky and fortunate to have some really special women in here. I had
Yes.
Karen Owen here about
Awesome.
a month
Oh
ago.
my
I know.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Lindas,
Oh,
and
cool.
I just try to have kind of maybe the ones that people
Yes.
don't know as much.
You know what? I love that because I feel like that's what these shows are for. That's actually, to me, I'm like, that's what late night is for. That's what radio is for. I feel
Yes.
like it's like such an opportunity to share, like to uplift new artists. But I think it happens so much more rarely now.
Yes.
People don't want to take chances, but like there's so much good stuff out there.
No, you're so right. And I know both of you are big fans of music and artists and just such big supporters in that way. And, you know, let's face it, what I do here, it's a business, and I have to kind of play a lot of familiar music that the fans and the listeners know.
Yep.
But the fun part for me, and I know for you guys, is exposing new music to the listeners. And I know that they do appreciate it and want it.
100%.
Yeah, having you guys here is just it's checked a box I've wanted to check for 2 years.
Thank you so much. We're stoked.
Yeah, so we'll start off by talking about you dropped a new song yesterday called The News.
Yes. It happened.
So exciting. And I'd love for you guys, I mean, that was such a cute way to do it, mailing a CD to a fan.
Yeah.
Saw the video on TikTok, and talk about that. I mean, where did you guys get that idea?
I mean, honestly, my word for this year was delegate, because I think that all of us, like not only is Zach's in the band, he also has a solo project and a label. I have, I'm in Paramore. I did my own music, but I am in Paramore.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Breaking news.
My favorite band. But I like, there's other things that we try to like, get our hands into, and it keeps us, I think, fresh and keeps us creative for the band. But like, in order to do all that stuff, learning how to like let go of control in ways is really great. And I think our team is so awesome. We've had our manager, Mark. We've had the same team for basically all of our career, but we've brought on some new people to just help us, because there's just shit I'm never going to know, like how to do TikTok. Like it's just stuff that
You're telling me.
right, man, like it's so much has changed since we put out a record last. And so anyway, we've had like, there's new people even at the label that we really love working with.
Good.
And people that are just helping us find new ways to reach fans. And that was, for instance, a fan that like for the last 5 years, I think she's had like trending videos with our music, and it's just like does a lot of reactions to music. And we're planning on doing more of that stuff too as the album rolls out.
That's very cool.
It's just nice to reach out in ways that maybe people aren't expecting. And again, we have like people that actually know how to work our socials that we don't, who are helping us to reach those fans. And I don't know. I'm stoked about some of the other stuff that's coming out that's not even necessarily tied to a single, but it's more just about us being back out in the world and connecting with our fans again. And that's all just stuff that's like sitting in an email that we
Can't wait.
are ready to get to.
Can't wait to see and hear what you have in store for us.
It's fun, man. This has been so fun already. Like the shows have been so great, and it's just nice to feel the energy again after being home.
I agree.
So long.
It's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been 5 years, and that's the thing. Your new album titled "This Is Why" coming out February 10th. So you've now got 2 songs in the universe. You've got The News that dropped yesterday.
Yep.
"This Is Why," which dropped about 2 months ago.
2 months, yeah.
Love, absolutely obsessed with these songs.
Thanks.
I love the musical direction. I love the kind of 60s mod, like the look of the video for This Is Why, and just the funkiness of the music. And it's just, it moves me to no end. So,
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's talk about the music and the direction of the album. whatever you can say at this point, because we only have 2 songs out there.
Okay, yeah. How do we
I think
not
it's
give it away?
yeah. I think kind of touching on like only having This Is Why out for so long, just the song. It was amazing that, well, the news is out now, but touring with only one new song out, and you're like, there's a whole new record that you want people to hear, but they're only getting like, so it's amazing. The reaction just from having just that one song out was like really amazing. It was really, really cool. It felt like by the time
it broke the internet when it came out.
when we started talking about putting the news out, we were like, oh yeah, we have more, because we're so in the This Is Why the song world, you know. So it's really cool. I can't wait for people to hear the whole record, and I'm glad that it's starting to slowly come out.
I hope too, like when the record comes out, that people understand why we called the album This Is Why, but like why that track was important to put out first, because I think ultimately, like, the reason we landed on making that the title track is that all the things that we cover and explore, especially lyrically on the record, are why it is tough to engage and kind of become a part of society once again after like a very introspective few years and an isolating few years. It's not really a pandemic album, but I do think that it's political, and it's based on the things that we've all been through, but it through a personal lens. So I think that, like, like how many causes do we all want to get behind right now, because everything feels like it's on fire. You can't, like, it's like you can't touch it all at one time. You can't get to all of it at one time. And I think the overwhelming, the frustration, those emotions that you feel, all of it sometimes makes you just kind of want to like throw your hands up and be really apathetic to it. And so it felt really great to open with this song that's very sarcastic about like, God, I don't even know if I want to be a part of all this anymore. I just want to like check out. And then with the news, it's kind of digging into that in a different way, like exploring, like, do you check out or do you like bear down and get deeper into it? Like, which side of it do you feed? Like, which wolf do you feed? And actually, both of them are pretty necessary. Like, it's important to check out and take care of, have boundaries. And it's also really important to stay engaged. So I don't know. It's been interesting to watch people's reactions, but I think until they get the whole album, you don't really understand the full picture.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And it's great to hear you kind of comment on just those 2 songs. If anything, I'm just dying to hear the album.
Oh, I can't wait for you to hear it. We had such a good time, like really like drawing old influences back out, and then also kind of mixing that with stuff that, like, I think even Zach's learned from his own musical stuff, things that I learned from my own project. Like, it's, I don't know, it feels like a really great alchemy. The 3 of us working together now, it's just, I don't know, it makes you realize why you had to go through, the last 20 years, why they all played out the way that they did. And I'm just stoked that we're all still a family.
And it's the first record that the 3 of us started and completed together. Haley and I started the band forever ago, but we had different members, and my brother was in the band, and there was different like main songwriters, and Haley always doing lyrics and melodies. But I think it's really cool because I would just kind of like come in and do my drum parts, and then kind of like see if there's anything else to do. But it was mainly my priority was drumming. It's cool to kind of come and see the other side of that, and see when you kind of structure this music, and then what sparks the idea for Haley. And it's really cool because I think a lot of the words we were using were like urgency and immediacy for the musical direction. And I think it's cool to see some of these topics that Haley's writing about come into play because of where we've been for the last 4 years, where she's been personally, but also because After Laughter didn't really have as much teeth, I think, as this new record. And some of these, especially even the news, there's like, guitar riffs and that are in heavy, like I was so out of breath drumming. And I can't remember feeling that out of breath in the studio besides like Careful or something on our
on
Brand New Eyes. Like, so it's just cool to have some of those, like, and it doesn't feel like we're putting on an old jacket or something, or like old clothes from our closet. Like, what's this Warped Tour shirt? It was like, it felt like this new era. Everything feels like a new era for us. And it just so happens that while we were away, people were kind of discovering the band for the first time for some people and rediscovering or always being a loyal fan. It's very cool to see the different sides of everything. It's very, very fun, interesting, great time.
I know. How did it happen? It's crazy.
Yeah, we are like pinching ourselves every day. Really, it's like kind of doesn't feel real.
Yeah. Zach, would you say that you took on a little bit more of a larger role with the music on this album?
100%.
So Haley, you would say yes.
I would say it for you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know that. I think my role was to facilitate like a safe security for everybody, because I feel like Haley and Taylor tend to like we all do, you kind of get in your head a little bit. And I think for me, my role was obviously to like help musically as much as I could, but to be like, no, we got this. Like, this is really cool. I feel like that's perspective.
Kind of that compass of like, yes, totally. Guys, this is sounding great.
It's so easy to lose perspective when you're like in a vacuum and you're making this thing. You're like, what is this even for? Like, are we doing this for ourselves? Or are we doing it for fans? Like, you kind of need. So I think I definitely played a role, but
that's like pretty humble though. Taylor called you the chorus whisperer a few times on this album. Like, there'd be times where he would feel so stuck on like, maybe he'd have like a riff that he loved, but like, where do you take that and how do you open it up into a chorus that feels like something you want to play live? And Zach would just be like, what about this? There's a song on the album that I can't wait for people to hear. We probably won't put it out until the record comes out, but like the feeling, the rhythm, and the riff, it's like so. It has this like crunch to it that reminds me of like some of the best shit in the early 2000s that we loved. Even like Franz Ferdinand and like stuff that's really angular, a lot of like UK alternative music from that time. And I feel like that happened because all three of us were there, and the things that we're bringing to it just naturally are completely different perspectives. It doesn't matter how close we are, that we grew up together. It's nice to have. We're like a three-legged table that is balanced.
Definitely needed
somehow.
Each other, yeah.
Yeah.
So new album, This Is Why, dropping February 10th.
Yes.
And you've got quite the year planned next year. Huge tour, taking you everywhere. Yeah. And I want to say I was so stoked when I saw who you are taking out with you. And you talked about it a minute ago with Franz Ferdinand. You're taking Foles out with you, Block Party out with you. And I wrote down the third one.
Linda's
are coming. Genesis Owusu's coming.
Owusu. Yeah.
It's going to be rad to, like, we always love to kind of try to make the shows feel well-rounded and, something for different types of fans. But I'm very stoked to have a dance party every night with Foles and Block Party.
I love it.
Oh, my God.
I love it. It's just because something that I love about Paramore, I think that the band, you've become so successful from the pop punk genre, right? And you were on the Warped Tour, and that's kind of how you guys got your comeuppance. Yeah. That in a way, the band can get pigeonholed a little bit in that scene. Yeah. But there's actually so much more to the music when you listen to the albums and the music you guys make. And so then when you take out bands like this, it's really showcasing your personal tastes and the bands that you guys love.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks. I feel like we've tried so hard with once we got to where we could headline shows, we really do love to show influences and also just like pay respect to or tribute to, unless it's like ridiculous. Like, someone asked us the other day if we wanted to have Blondie open for something, and I was like, we will never ask Blondie to open up for that's insane. Like, that's so offensive. But I think within reason,
it's rude of them to even ask.
It's rude for
I totally get what you're saying.
She should play first.
Yes.
Out of 3.
No. But
main support? No way.
Put them
that's
first.
Just crazy. That's like
that we would never do that.
Yeah.
We would just never do that. But I think that within good reason, and when it feels really right to pay tribute and respect to people that we know we wouldn't really have a chance without, and to be able to bring them out as peers is like it's like really an honor in one way, and it's also just for the music fan in us. We geek out so hard it's just going to be crazy hearing songs from Silent Alarm like while we're getting ready to play.
One of the best albums.
Come on, it's so good.
I love that album so much. We're talking about Block Party, Silent Alarm right now.
Yeah.
But I'm so with you. Haley, I went down a rabbit hole listening to your podcast on
The BBC podcast.
Thank you. Yes. BBC Sounds. Everything is Emo is Haley Williams' podcast, and she's on there. And not only are you playing songs and artists that you love, and you actually get to listen to all the songs all the way through, you're telling these great stories.
Oh,
and the thing that bleeds through to me is what a huge music fan you are. And I always knew that about you, but it's like, it's different when I listen to the podcast because I'm just hearing these crazy stories, whether it's you talking about seeing Jimmy Eat World with your little sister and what they meant to you growing up. Panic at the Disco, like going through the songs that you love. And I mean, just, you play Block Party. One of my favorite albums of all time is Tegan and Sarah the Cons. So when you talked about that, I'm just like, oh my God, girl. Like,
so good.
Yeah. Do you love doing the podcast?
I really do. I finished it recently, and I want to find, other opportunity. Like, we love
in September. I think that was the last.
That was it.
Yeah.
But and they're still all up, and people can listen to it. It's a lot of episodes, like 20 episodes. But the guys and I love talking about music. We really love to geek out on that. But there's, it's funny when you're a musician, professionally, and you do it for a living. There's actually rarely a great opportunity to publicly speak, just like to nerd out the way you would, like as like maybe a teenager. That's like when Zach used to make mix CDs for me at school.
Yep, and you talk about that.
You don't really. I don't know. It's just the funny, ironic thing about being a musician. We just don't. We don't get to talk about it unless we're like hanging out with each other, listening to stuff and kind of in our own spaces. But it was good. It was a good exercise for me because not only did I reminisce a lot, but I listened to a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have given a chance to. Yeah. Like, I think it's easy to get a little bit older and kind of get comfortable with what you've always listened to. Like, I'm always going to listen to Me Without You. I'm always going to listen to The Cure. Like, there's just stuff that you get stuck in, right? Yeah. But there's so much good new music. There's a lot of new stuff coming out of the UK that I just think
Wet
is
Leg. I know
Wet
you're a
Leg,
big fan.
Of course.
Yeah.
Coach Party. There's a band called Lime Garden that I talked about on the show. They were one of the reasons I wanted to do the show because I heard Lime Garden and I was like, this is so sick. And if this is just happening all over the place in the UK and there's these like young, incredible musicians that are also full of personality and funny and fun, and they bring that into their shows and stuff like that, reminds me of what got us into this in the first place. And it makes me so happy that young people are getting that experience too. Like the Lindas, what they're doing is, if you really think about it, we had the 90s and we had like Riot Girl. We even had like Alanis Morissette and Jewel. Like there were, Tracy Chapman. There were these amazing female voices in alternative music and in punk music, but something happened in the late 90s with like the boy band craze and like the super pop kind of move that happened. And then like by the time we came onto the scene was super sexist again, and and it almost felt like all the work that bands like Bikini Kill and Sleater Kinney paved almost felt like people tried to erase it. And so seeing a band like the Lindas kind of rise out of the ashes is like, you're so
for them
young.
To tour with
they're just
cool to see people like Karen like
really endorsing them. They're carrying a torch that has almost went out, like, and I say that being a female who for the past 20 years has been in the public eye, but I don't think that even I had the tools because we were just inundated with like this weird trope of like it's not cool to be a girl in the scene, and it's not cool to be different.
You're one of like, I mean, just so few.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
It's really, I guess it for whatever reason it happened the way it was supposed to happen. So exciting how many females and female involved bands and queer fronted bands are really being given platforms and being given a chance and being added to festival lineups and stuff that just felt like such a non-reality when we were coming up. So it's like it was so exciting to do the podcast even just for those reasons because there's a lot of people I wanted to like uplift
and it's such a shame that it's like it's still the females are the very like it's weird to say like you're one of the few. Because there's so many more things like LGBTQ plus. There's so many things that are come on, we have so many more things to worry about than like a female singing or fronted. That's like
shouldn't be a novelty.
Old school. Yeah,
I agree. It shouldn't even be a thing.
No.
And
just
that's,
people fronting. It's just I don't know. There's way more things to it, but it's definitely important to focus on because it is still like that. You know?
Well, Paramore just headlined When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas in October, along with My Chemical Romance, who we all love.
Yes.
And you took time out during the set to talk, and you talked to your fans, and you talked to the people right in front of the stage, and you talked about how at one point in time the scene wasn't a safe place.
No.
And do you feel it's gotten better?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's similar to how we talk about race issues in this country. Just because things have gotten a little bit better in some ways doesn't mean there's still not a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think that the way that it's gotten better is that at least at the very least, there's a generation willing to acknowledge it and willing to like make others, feel as uncomfortable as they need to make the necessary changes for equity and to make the scene feel equitable and to make business feel like there's just so far to go. But what I will say is that it's obvious to me when I can look out in the crowd and see all sorts of different people.
Yep.
And I grew up really young. I was in Mississippi, and the neighborhood that I grew up in was it might have been an equal split, but I feel like it was predominantly Black families. And when I moved to Nashville, my mom and I, and eventually when I met Zach and Taylor and we started playing shows, it was almost like a culture shock, for me to be like, well, there's just only white people.
Yes.
And
yes.
I didn't know.
Terrifying.
Terrifying shit. But I don't think that I knew that you could even say anything about that. I thought, well, okay, this is normal here. But what's so great is feeling like there's even a part of myself that was born in Mississippi, that grew up around certain types of people, and to be able to feel that part of me reintegrated while our scene is feeling it's diversifying, and there's space for like people who are figuring out their sexuality, and they they're figuring out what to do when they're singing a heavily pronouned song. Like I remember when we first started writing, I really refused to use pronouns in songs for a while, and it was something that I wasn't sure why. I just felt like, well, I don't really want anyone to not be able to sing along. And then Misery Business happened, and I just had I got possessed by my internalized misogyny. But I think
you retired the song. You did bring it back, though.
We did. We brought it back. We're trying really hard to reclaim. I think the same way that there's a lot of people trying to reclaim things from our youth that just weren't set right. The foundation wasn't right, and now people are willing to look at their own actions and look at kind of what's going on internally.
I don't think any of that was deliberate, though. You wrote it in the moment. Totally. You were young. You wrote from the heart, and that's what happened. And you're a little more mature now, so you can look back and go, oh, hey.
Oh, man. It was like, what's funny, it was a bad day at high school, basically, and putting it on an album that's going to be out forever is just,
but
whatever.
People love that song.
It's also one of the best moments at our shows.
Yeah. I think you touching on it is like, if we were to just bring it back and be like, this song's called Misery Business, and you just play it, I think that would be a disservice to the song and the band, but you bring it to the light, and I think that's like the best thing you can do in situations like that.
Agree 100%.
And it's almost like it's just better to play the song. That was always what I was when I came back, and I was
he was a big advocate for it too.
But just even like what you're saying too, we definitely started seeing the crowds. I mean, maybe it's self-titled, but especially during After Laughter, seeing the crowds kind of like diversify, and it just people, I don't know, especially on this last run, seeing just it's beyond that now. It's like this is the fans' band. It's really cool, like seeing you're just looking out, and it's like this is their show. Like they drove here with their best friend, their partner, whatever, and it's like they're having the time of their life, and it's like I feel like I was attending their show.
Yeah,
most
for
nights.
sure. It did feel
and
like
and
that.
it's so diverse, and everybody's so great, and I don't know. It's a very special time to be in this band.
What I love is you guys, as a band, you make it a point to be very inclusive at your shows.
Oh, thanks.
And, Haley, you're quoted in the LA Times article, you like to protect people who don't look like you. And I think that touched my heart. You purposely are looking out for, you're such an advocate of the LGBTQ community, people of color, you're using your voices for such good causes. And I applaud it so much.
Thank you. I mean, why are we, we got a lot of time off to think about why we do stuff. And then, of course, the world I think all the ugliness that we could have ever imagined kind of reared its head while we were off.
And a lot. Literally, the last 2 years, I feel like have filled a lifetime.
Oh, my God, man.
Stuff.
And I really feel for young people who, their freaking brains aren't even fully developed yet. They're trying to navigate all this stuff. But, for us to come back is not only, for us to be responsible to ourselves, we have to really know why we're doing it. But I think all the good opportunity that we kind of can't believe is happening right now is kind of pointless if you don't turn it outward in a way. It's it's really, this is a really easy job to be selfish about. We were just talking about this. There are people that make sure we have food every day. There are people that literally yesterday at a photo shoot, Natalie, our assistant, put my shoes on for me while I'm doing 2 other things. Yeah. It's this is a very easy profession to become the worst kind of human. And I think that it continues to hold us accountable when we continue to push outward and try to make it mean something more. So I think that we're excited to do a lot more of that next year with the tours and the organizations we partner with and all that. And I think all of us have a heart for, we get really, really bummed, really pissed about injustice, So where can, put me in, coach kind of attitude, where can we help? What are we good for? And also not in a we want to save the world type of way, but just there's no space anymore for people to not try to make the world feel somewhat easier for other people, because shit's hard.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't ever say that we know what it's like for anybody else. But I think just as far as being in a band that was not really sure where we fit in, I think fans kind of saw that Paramore was a safe place, and that's kind of what I'm saying about our shows too. That's the main thing, is it's a safe place for people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been the most rewarding thing, is to see that people have a home to go have the best night ever and be with their loved ones and friends.
Amazing.
So that's we hope to keep that safe space up.
Man.
Yeah. It's a special community.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah.
If I see kids fighting at a show again, I saw that in Oklahoma. Ooh, Mama's coming out there.
I love you said you were going to get out there. You would get spanked in 2 seconds.
I would get spanked. I'm so little, but
it's stepped on a little bug,
like a tiny insect.
Stop doing that.
But oh my gosh, it just it's just it's so hard to see. I think we're all so sensitive after even just after 2020 alone. But I think I just think there's been so much going on globally, politically, socially. I just want people to have 5 fucking minutes of peace.
And what it takes for people to get people camp and they set up, they go through such great lengths just to get to the show.
Yes.
So if it's people just fighting, or
it might as
people
well
being
feel
rude
good.
to fans at shows, you're just man, it's such a bummer, because they go through so much just to have their show.
Yeah. Well, and you care so much about your fans, and
they're the sweetest, best people.
Yeah. Yep. So one thing I wanted to touch on is, Haley, you were only 15 years old when you got signed. That is so incredibly young.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's crazy. And it's hard to probably recap what you've learned in the last 15 years. But I did, for the people listening to the show, I think they would be interested, 15-year-old you compared to, 30-year-old you. It's you must have, mean, what was that like? You were so young. You were a teenager, and you're signed by a major record label. Well, and I also want to note to people listening, Haley was signed as a solo artist, and you were the one who insisted, no, I'm going to be in a band.
Yeah, I was already in the band with Zach, Taylor, Josh, and we had a friend JJ that was in the band too. And actually, his mom's maiden name was Paramore, which is where we got the name for the band.
Wow!
But
I never knew that.
We were in high school. I think the fact that I say this all the time, but the fact that we all stayed friends.
Yep.
We went through what we had to go through. Like Zach literally lived in New Zealand for 6 years. We didn't see him for most of that.
Not 6 years, but yeah.
Was it not 6 years?
It was 3, but
it was 3. But
I had to get back so I could be in the band again.
Yeah, you moved all the way back for that. But yeah, all the things that we
a lot of life, yeah,
that we experienced just in the first. I like God, dude. My mom and I ran from Mississippi, and like 4 months later, I was really close with the Pharaohs. You know, and that's a crazy. That still blows my mind how fast that turn of events was, but like to the point that we were playing shows, and then we gained some interest from industry people, because Nashville's just an industry town too. We definitely had that benefit. I think this is all my theory, but I'm happy to put it out there into the world. I just feel like the early 2000s, after the boy band craze, there was Avril Lavigne as this answer to and everyone would they always pitted her against Britney Spears as if that mattered. But as a 13, 14-year-old girl, I remember that because it was very impactful to me. I thought I related more to an artist like Avril Lavigne. There was not really much else happening that wasn't just solely underground or indie music that I felt represented by. And I do think that labels, as they do, we're like, okay, well, that worked. Let's just do it 10 more times.
Right.
And I think
they see it winning,
man.
and then like, okay, yeah.
It's so not creative in such an
should never
industry.
take them to Vegas.
Yeah, well, like I do think that we got a chance because of artists like that, that were given a chance in this mainstream arena. I also think we benefited from like major labels seeing that indie labels were doing it right, because they were developing artists and they were letting artists tour.
Yeah.
And and in my 15-year-old brain, with like, again, like our parents knew that we wanted to do music, but they didn't know what choices to make for us. We were just lucky that they supported us.
Yep.
And I remember being like, I don't really, you can push me as this, but I don't believe it would last, because I'm a 15-year-old kid who is your market. And I just feel like what we want is other people representing us in a way that feels real. And I'm in a band, like, just work with our band, and it was a struggle and a fight. And that's just ultimately because of money, and people seeing dollar signs. But, ultimately it worked out for us in the sense that we've been able to do kind of whatever we want. We always push back. We're pretty hard-headed, and sometimes that's not fun to work with, but our manager is amazing. And
it's because we care about it.
We care so much about it. And like, it was weird to be, I think one of the biggest pains in my life was that I was signed like as a solo artist, and I didn't realize how many bands are treated that way in major labels. There's so many bands that we all love that like 2 people are signed or 1 person is signed. And
I actually didn't know that either.
Oh, it's real. It's very real. And
it's
a lot.
Very rare that
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to be like our favorite band. So it was heartbreaking for me. And then you add the being a young girl to it.
Yes.
And that just, it was tough. It was very sexist, and it was very, it pushed us apart for a while. It definitely caused a lot of like very No Doubt-esque drama, But, look, everything happened the way it was supposed to. I don't know how the hell we're still here. But like something happened, and we're just like on the surfboard, just like riding it, and we feel really lucky because now we're about to not even be on a label. Like, that's how long we've been doing it. It's gonna be over soon, and I don't know what the hell we're gonna do next. I mean, we're gonna be a band,
that's kind of freeing.
It is freeing,
right?
Oh my God,
I actually think that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're not 15 anymore, so we can make better decisions.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Or like think a little bit more for ourselves.
You all come with a wealth of knowledge and vision, and you have opinions and you're passionate. And I don't know. I think that Mark did share that with me, by the way, that this is the last go round. And
it's so cool to see him be so excited about everything that's happening too, because he feels like a fourth band member.
He should just be in the, he feels
absolutely.
Like he's in the band.
We love him so much.
Oh yes. No, for sure. I mean, he's in the trenches, like,
for sure. He is.
Yeah. No, he's amazing. You know, Paramore has inspired so many artists, you know, just to name a few. You know, Billie Eilish cites, you know, you guys as such a big influence. I do too. She attended the show. By the way, I'm so sad I didn't get to go to the shows.
It's because we moved it, isn't it? It's because we changed some things around.
Well, Halloween, you know, because I have my 2 7-year-olds, that kind of, you know, was out. And then there was some big industry dinner on the other night. But anyway, Billie attended your show.
Yeah,
she
so
did. Cute.
It was so sweet.
And
to
obviously,
look up
you
and
went
see
on
her.
stage with her at Coachella.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you just have this really sweet relationship.
We love them. The whole family. We love them so much. And we're gonna do more work with Maggie, her mom's support and feed organization next year, which is really exciting too. But that's just that's also like when you find like very salt of the earth people in this industry, like people that I just feel like we have so much in common, or they have so much in common with how we run our ship.
Yeah.
A lot of the crew on the Billie team are like old punk rockers, and we toured with some of them. Like I think her first security guard was my first security guard on Warped Tour. So it's just really sweet. Every time I'm around them, my heart like grows 10 sizes. You know, I love them a lot.
In the same situation where their managers have been with them from day one.
Yeah, exactly.
And just they don't manage a ton of artists, and you're right. It's very similar.
It's cool. It makes it feel, you know, it's like an independent, very self-sufficient kind of thing in an industry that just isn't like that.
No, I know.
So they're special people.
Yeah. No, for sure. I wanted to ask you, Haley, is there any words of advice you would give female artists who are trying to get their start in their career?
Oh, man. Sure. Yes. I feel like the best thing that you can do is not, I mean, really, no matter who you are, not make your gender an issue to yourself. I think that, like, I didn't realize that I did this, but in retrospect, I can see that when I would go on stage, I felt very genderless, and it was so freeing, so liberating to just be a person, just and not even a human, but just like a spirit that danced around. And it's the freest that I feel usually. Like a lot of things can be going on, but when I, you know, like on, you know, Warped Tour when we were younger, horrible things would happen. You know, like girls did not really get treated with a great amount of respect. I would get shit thrown at me, like condoms, or people would yell out weird stuff. But I'll say, like, being able to sweat and feel like it didn't matter what I looked like. I didn't care if someone took an ugly or weird photo of me on stage, because I felt just uninhibited by the body that I was inhabiting, you know? And I think that I want that for every artist, to be able to go on stage and be like this kind of, I don't know if this is the correct word to use for it, but almost to feel like alien or other, because you're so liberated that it doesn't really matter what constructs are out there. It doesn't really matter social politics. All that stuff is secondary to emotion and feeling and connection. And I think that when you feel that sense or that spirit, it allows you to rise above the weird challenges that come, because you know that you're actually not bound to a single state. It's everything is fluid. Everything is flowing through you at any given time. And I think the stage and also the pen, like putting words down on paper, is a very freeing thing. And you just don't have to be bound by, you know, by being a young girl. That I know in the world, people are so hard on young girls. Like, it's so funny that like bands get made fun of for having teenage fans, but like, I don't know where the Beatles would have been without teenage girl. You know what I mean? Like
most bands,
really, there's so much power in like young people in general. But I think femininity is actually such a driving force in every living thing. So That's a long-winded answer, but I would just say be an artist, and who cares what the rest of the picture looks like. You can use whatever color in the palette that you want. You can put on whatever clothes you want, but just be an artist and like express something that feels true.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Zach, any final words?
What do you want to say?
Go females.
Go ladies.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming in on She Is the Voice. It means so much to not just me, but the listeners. And Paramore is such a huge artist in our world.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Zach.
It was so good to see you.
How are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm great. I'm nervous. I'm just, my brain is going in a million directions, but I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's a joy to have you. Why are you nervous?
Oh, dude, it never gets easier. You could put out 1 million records, and I think I would hope that I would still have nerves on the 1,000th album. It's all of your heart and soul and a lot of time and energy that goes into it, and then you just kind of hand it to people to take care of it. So here's hoping that they receive it well.
Is it extra nervous because of the break? Like, I should say for people, like 5 years off, 5 years no Paramore record, and now Paramore record. But is that extra nervous-y?
I think so, because if you're not paying attention, it could be surprising. But watching how much the industry can change and the world, anyway, culture, whatever. 5 years is a really long time, especially if you're, using the internet as any sort of gauge. So yeah, a lot has changed. We've changed, a lot can change in your own life in 5 years. And I think the positive thing is we're all, as adults, this has been the most incredible time to be at home and to, enter into our 30s, like surrounded by family and community back in Nashville, which is where we've grown up, where we're from. So yeah, I think entering, even just leaving that bubble and going back into the world after 5 years is also, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Can you do the why now? Can you tell me why now after 5 years?
That's a really good question. Zach says that I just DM'd him on Instagram one day. I mean, we were all quarantined. We hung out a little bit because we were in each other's bubbles, obviously. But Zach's our drummer, for people that don't know. He's like a man of action, So I told him, I guess he remembers this. I DM'd him and I was like, I'm ready. And that's all I said. And he was like, all right. I feel like that probably means we're back at it. So next thing we know, we're like holed up at the studio in East Nashville, which is kind of like the hip part of town,
Yeah.
And we, thank God, day one, we get in and we write something that surprised us. And I think surprise is the key word, because, to make things that you're comfortable making and that you feel good about is one thing, but to really surprise yourself after, 20 years of us writing together is, man, it's such a comfort, because you're like, oh, all right, I still have some things in me worth exploring. Like there's still more to figure out. And I think that's the best part of being creative.
I mean, I understand that part. I understand that when you're together 20 years, if you went into the studio and you made a record, you started making songs that sounded like, they didn't creatively excite you, or they felt like the old stuff, that wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't keep you going. What I don't understand is the I'm ready. Where did I'm ready come from?
I really missed being in the room with both Zach and Taylor, and like the way that Paramore has sort of been like a catalyst in all of our lives for every type of growth. It doesn't have to be artistic. I think it's kind of been the vehicle in which that's how we get to places. It's how we see the world. It's like our lens. And I think I missed that. I was home a lot. I had done 2 solo records, and I think I did those to prove to myself that I could do it. And to hell with, whatever people have said about Paramore and me being like, it being a glorified solo act. I wanted to show people that actually me doing a solo thing probably sounds a lot different than Paramore, and it did. But then I just missed being in my home, and creatively Paramore is my home. And thankfully I wasn't the only one that felt that way, because maybe then it wouldn't have happened. But all three of us were like, yeah, it feels right.
I can hear that, like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks about us. This is who we are-ness of the record. Because I think the opening line is like, you can take your opinion and you can shove it. Is that the opening line?
I mean, basically, yes. If you have an opinion,
maybe you should shove it. It's a little more Canadian than that. It's a little more, it's a little gentler than I said it. But am I reading into that, Haley? That like that felt to me like a very intentional opening line, you know?
Now that you're saying all this, I'm kind of realizing for the first time that the album opens with that line and then it closes with a song called Thick Skull, which is the first song that we wrote. It's the one I was telling you, like, we got in and we were like, oh shit, we were surprised by it. And that song is very much about, it's like I'm reflecting on a lot of years of having people's opinions projected on me, the band going through several iterations, just literally just friends going through friendship drama and breaking up and getting back together. And a lot of the times I got the brunt of that. I think it's easy anyway for a lead singer to kind of be, the scapegoat, but especially being a female and kind of coming up in the time that we did, there was just a lot of stuff that I've held on to that's been really, I think, kind of limiting for me. I think I've limited myself because it scares me what people are going to say about the band or about me as, character wise. Like, I don't know, you see people say shit like it's the Haley Williams show or whatever. And I think I just got to a place, and this is where Thick Skull comes from. The subject matter of Thick Skull is like, what if all of that was true? Would it even matter? Like, what if I just called all these folks bluffs, and when I say these folks, it's like anonymous commenters on the internet, which sounds insane to give a shit about, but yeah. That was my formative years, so it's nice to hear you talk about, in context, that's how the album starts. And then that's also in a way how the album ends. I want to leave all of that worry and the care about, what are they going to think about every little move that I make? And am I a good person? Am I a bad person? I just want to let that go. That has nothing to do with our creativity.
I love that so much, that the album would begin with like, I don't care about your opinion. You can you can maybe shove it, maybe. And then the album.
Am I like honorary Canadian now?
Yeah, you made it. Just say sorry a couple of times. And then at the end of the album, it is this like, well, even if all the things you say about me are true, even if all the assumptions you make about me are true, I'm still okay. Like, I'm still all right.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of Canada, that is Paramore and C'est Comme Ça. Haley Williams of Paramore is my guest. My name is Tom Power. I'm not going to put too much of my stuff on it. Just tell me about that song.
Oh, God. First of all, the wanderlust when you're stuck quarantining at home is very serious, especially when a lot of my life has been spent traveling for, my job, and we don't even get to see much, just screen rooms. So I think I couldn't stop thinking about the time we've spent in Paris, also Montreal. But this one in particular is just about the process of getting help, getting better, kind of deciding that the status quo or just simply surviving is not enough. And I'm very much addicted to a survival narrative. My story in my own life, the women in my family are survivors of I'm thinking mostly of like domestic assault, emotional and physical and mental abuse. And, I am my mother's only child, and she's such a heroine to me. She's so heroic and so brave and smart. And I think on the good side, it's like, I want to be like that. On the bad side, I think my mom wants me to have a better life than she's ever had, so being addicted to a narrative of survival is quite limiting. Also, it's very much like if you're only look.
I don't know what that means. Being addicted to a narrative of survival. Can you help me understand that a bit better?
Yeah, I think I got home after we made after we toured After Laughter, and I decided to get help. I knew I was struggling mentally, and it was kind of getting dark, and I I knew it was like time to take it seriously. And so I got diagnosed with depression and PTSD. And the way that it's been described to me, people who have PTSD, I grew up thinking like, oh, well, that's something for people that have been in combat. Like that's what that is. But I think we all have, whether they're micro or bigger types of traumas in our daily life. It can be easy to get used to the stress of that, and your body, the cortisol hormones and the way that your body is physically affected, how that manifests. I've had to make a lot of changes in my life to kind of regulate my nervous system and to slow myself down, because I got a lot going on. I like doing a lot of things and being involved in a lot of things, but sometimes you have to weigh, what's actually good for you. And getting older, you have to do that as well. Like I don't want to drink every night and feel like shit in the morning, but sometimes that idea of just being reckless is so romantic that people stay stuck.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, not to make this about me, but I know what you mean. There's a line of the song that really got me about that. Like, I got diagnosed with panic disorder. I got diagnosed with some anxiety stuff, and I had to try and figure that stuff out too. And getting better is boring. That's one of the lines in the song.
Yeah.
I felt that so deeply because when I do get everything together, like when my sleep is good, when my booze is regulated, when I'm not smoking dope, when I'm not, when I'm sleeping enough, when I'm meditating, when I'm going to therapy, when I'm doing all of like the list of things, my phone usage, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's
9:00 at night. And I go like, all right, well, what now?
I guess I'll read a book and have some tea. I know what you're talking about. It's so nice. Like sometimes I'll be doing interviews and I'll talk to someone that, for better, where it's like not in their nature to share or to, or maybe they're trying to be a certain type of buttoned up, but it's so comforting to know that you're not the only one that's going through this stuff. And I think it's got to be so many more people that maybe don't even realize that they're addicted to these things. Because it can come from anything. It can come from like your body being addicted to caffeine and that doing things. It could be the phone. It's just like constant, we're inundated constantly with information, and certainly the news is stressful every single day. So yeah, it's taking care of yourself can look very just, you become like a little docile. Yeah. Part of me is just like, I'm like 50% granny now, and I can't hate it because my body's thanking me for it.
But that's hard on the road, Haley.
Yeah. Right now, that's all I'm thinking about. Is like, okay, normally I'm in bed by 9 when I'm home, ever since the pandemic, because there was just nothing to do. But when we work, you're playing a show until 11, sometimes later. You eat at 1 a.m. You're flipping your whole existence upside down. So yeah, I'm definitely nervous about that part. I got to find balance all over again.
I just want to acknowledge, I'm talking to Haley Williams from Paramore. I want to acknowledge one thing before I ask you about the song. And to be honest, I don't think you get enough credit for this. And far be it from me, I'm no expert. Incredible melody writer. Like such a gifted melody writer you are.
Thank you. That's so great to hear. I love that. I always talk about lyrics, which I love, but that means so much. Thank you.
And you've always been a great melody writer. However, can we talk lyrically? Can you tell me about that song?
Yeah. It's never not been this way, but I think one of my favorite movies in terms of just social commentary is Lord of the Flies. I just think that, unfortunately, there's something in the human condition that's wired to never be satiated by power. Like, it's never enough. And also in history, there's been a lot of men in power that I think maybe they might have had a choice at one point to do the right thing or not. And it just always seems like it goes the latter. Watching like our president at the time, which honestly, I refused to call him the entire time he was in office, like just be so flippant with his power and his abuse of power was really annoying. And it's not a song just about Trump. This isn't like just an anti-Trump song. I think it's it's more about wanting to put another spotlight on abuse of power in general and not thinking it's cool.
Yeah. I guess what it made me, to be honest with you, and this, I'll tell you this is a pre-tape interview, and we're not going to talk about anything you don't want to talk about, obviously.
Sure.
But like, it was hard to, I read the comments you made, I think it was in an interview a couple of weeks ago, where you talked about like your larger experience of being like a 15, 16, 17-year-old, 18, 19-year-old woman on, at shows. And you had like, I think it was Fat Mike from NoFX making like shitty comments about you and like really sexualized comments about you. But I didn't think I just think broader to be a female artist, to be a woman, especially at that age in that scene, which again, the punk scene is supposed to be this like incredibly progressive scene, but for such a progressive scene is historically not welcoming to women, people of color, queer people, like, it was hard not to think about the song through that lens when I heard it, Haley.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I think all of those things, like they're cataloged, in my body somewhere. And I think that there's days that I don't even register those things as having really affected me in any big way. And there's other times where it's very visceral. Like when we played When We Were Young, which was this big, it's like the glorification of the emo subset. And
it was a festival, right? It was like a 3-day festival, which was like punk, pop punk bands. Sort of being celebrated with this new audience, which I'll talk about in a second. So anyway, so you played this sort of like, I don't want to call it Nostalgia Fest because it wasn't. It's like, it's not Nostalgia Fest. It was like an embracing of something there, but go on.
Well, we almost said no because we looked at it as, okay, this is a nostalgia festival and we have a new record coming out. We don't really want to pay much mind to like the Paramore of old because we feel like, we've grown from those people. But I do think it was an important thing for us to do. And it was really a perfect place for me to sort of speak on some of the frustrations, but also the hope that I think this new generation gives us, that like the alternative scene is for everybody. It's meant to be for everybody. And where would really any genre of rock music be without Black artists? So I think watching the scene become more inclusive is really, it's a sweet moment for me. But I found myself viscerally like having, like, there was like anger kind of energy, that angsty energy just tingling all over my skin the whole weekend. And I think that's why. I think I didn't let myself feel vulnerable to the bullshit when I was 16. I had a job I wanted to do. I wanted to prove Paramore that we were valuable, that we were worth something, and that we were here to stay, because I really have always believed in the band that way. But when you're 16, it's like there's other hurdles to get over, like getting people to take you seriously because you're young. The fact that there weren't a lot of females in that scene at the time, that was another hurdle. But I didn't have time to think about that or even strategize my moves around that because we were working, we were living our dream, so to be 34 and to look back at that person that I was and just want to like hug her and protect her and tell her that like, you guys are doing so great and you're doing the best you can. And it's okay if not everyone gets it or everyone likes you, like really wanting to show my younger self that, I made it to a stable place and that she was worth it, that time was worth it. I don't know. It's interesting doing that kind of work, like whether it's in therapy or just in your daily life. It's interesting when you pay attention what emotions will spring up.
As much as self-validation and all that stuff is important, Haley, like for people who don't know, like Paramore has like a sizable audience, and like you guys did really well when you started out, and you did really well really early. One of my favorite things about the band is that you were kind of discovered, and then you were offered to be a solo act, and then you just said, no, I want to be a band, which I still think I can't get over that you did that when you're 15. I don't think I could tie my shoes when I was 15, much less turn down like a major record label's wants, by the way. Or maybe you got to be 15 to do that though, Yeah. You have this really beautiful arrogance as a teenager. I think every teenager does. And you're ignorant to any of the
rules, right? So I think that's what got me through those early meetings. But a lot of people don't know. And to be honest, the timeline is really, it's a very annoying timeline because it was the early 2000s. People didn't take their phones and cameras everywhere. It was like, we did so much of our early groundwork without any witnesses. And I think it's the beautiful part. It's also like the part that I wish I could share the most with newer fans and young artists as well. Like we were already a band. We were already kind of playing our school talent show and like writing songs together. And that was my dream. I couldn't have cared less about any of the things that come with it. I was like, number one, get me out of Mississippi, because that's where I was born and my life began there. But my life technically began there, but it feels like my life started when we got to Nashville. So by the time I met a bunch of friends at school that played music, that was it. I was like, I'm happy. And I remember telling my family and some people that were at the label, like, you guys don't have to, like, you can take it or leave it, because I am I could go back and play in Taylor's basement with the guys and we'll be fine. Like, we'll just keep writing and doing what we love. I'm just thankful that it didn't turn anyone off enough, because we still, I still had to sign my name on a dotted line, but I got to bring all my friends along. And now we're at the end of that era of what that contract meant for us. And I'm so thankful, because had those people not been crazy enough to listen to a 15-year-old, then, this 34-year-old would not have, I wouldn't even have the relationships that I have in my life. So I feel very, very grateful.
The thing you said there that I think is worth mentioning is that I would like to say to like newer fans, there's not many artists that have been around this long that have newer fans. The thing that I was talking about earlier was like self-validation is important, but also this new generation has discovered Paramore, whether it be on TikTok or just through your records. Not only that, I think that people who were listening to you in their early 20s, their relationship has only deepened with you. And then I see you singing Misery Business with like Billie Eilish at, what was the Coachella?
Coachella.
Yeah, Coachella. I mean, who was not born when that song came out, potentially.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she was born, but still, it's, she was probably just learning to walk or something. I don't know. It really blows my mind. We spent a lot of time in the studio, like almost wide-eyed, like, how are we still here? This never happens to bands, especially bands that started in the era that we did. It's a weird time. Go ahead.
But why are you still here?
Oh, well, I mean, the simple answer that probably sounds the most cliche is that it's the fans, it's music fans, because we just it wouldn't matter. We could put out stuff, but there'd be no livelihood in it. That's for sure. I think that would be limiting, certainly, because they give us the opportunity. They give us the chance to prove our value to other people that then invest their money towards our cause, so we can tour or so we can make a record. So like, it's the fans, really. But I think beyond that, like, to be more, like, to get a little bit more emo about it, it's our, I think it's our friendships. I think that Zach and Taylor and I, we need music, but more than that, we need each other, and in the context of this band, to continue to grow as people. It's been such a catalyst there's been so many hard lessons we learned that were we not in Paramore, we wouldn't have even come across, So I feel like this is the seat that I have to sort of experience the world from. And I am still curious. So we're still going. We're all still curious.
We're such big fans of you here.
Thank you.
And thanks for making the time to talk to us. We've been looking forward to it for a while.
I love that we finally got to talk. You have such a good voice. Your voice I could listen to you on the radio forever. It's great.
Hey, come on, man. I'm on after the Opry on the NPR station down there. Okay. No, but seriously though, like, big fan. Thanks, Haley, for doing this. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Hayley Williams, hello.
Yes, I can't believe we're here. Oh my God. This album has taken forever to come out. I'm so excited.
But you know what? Good things comes to those who wait. And I think this is absolutely worth it. So, I always say this to listeners. I love a song that's like a peaceful slap in the face.
Yes.
This Is Why is very much that tune. I mean, it's peaceful, but it's also, I guess, antagonistic, but not in a bad way.
That is my essence.
Yeah.
Antagonistic, but not in a bad way. In a peaceful way, somehow.
Well, I remember when we first premiered the tune and you kind of explained like so brilliantly about how, you know, this is why we can't have nice things. And I think it's important to antagonize ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, I feel like that is the crux of the record, is sort of being like, being so frustrated about people and the world and things that are happening, and then realizing that all of that is happening in you as well. So you kind of have to call all of it out if you're going to call any of it out. And that's just been a really big theme for me personally the last few years. So yeah. Thank you for calling that. That's cool.
But I think, yeah, it's so true what you say, because I think that, I mean, look, we'll get to it as we get through all the songs, because that's what we're doing tonight. We are listening through all the tunes track by track. But one of the biggest themes that sticks out to me and it's made me laugh is that it's very much a self-snitching album.
Yes. I mean, that is growth, you know, like I feel like this time we took away, we finally got to just be people growing up within the context of whatever an ordinary life is, because, you know, just being on tour is not real life. Being in interviews, that's not real life, you know, that's not, I don't think that all of those things force you to really look inward in the way that you have to grow, like, cause that takes discomfort. So that's the whole journey this past 4 years has been about.
Well, here is to growth. Very much here for it. Okay, our next track is The News. Let's hear it. 20 years together. That is some time.
Oh man, it really is. Especially for some reason, this has been the 20-year mark was like when we really got nostalgic and reminiscent, just personally. I mean, the first photo shoot that we did, we were looking back at photos and approving stuff, and I was like, we look older. Like, this is the first time I'm like, oh, we are growing older together. It's crazy. And I'm so thankful, because this has just been, Paramore's changed my life. And it's not because of like the success. It's truly because of Zach and Taylor. It's changed everything about the trajectory of who I am. And I'm really thankful for them.
Well, it's such a privilege, isn't it, to grow older, like, as a band together, because we're so obsessed with newness. And obviously, look, we're celebrating that tonight, which is so important. But there is this thing sometimes, isn't there, with bands where it's just like, okay, after album number 2 or 3, people are just like, okay, I'm bored now. And you guys are on your 6th album now. That's really, really impressive.
Thank you. There's a Taylor Swift song that features Phoebe Bridgers called Nothing New. And I had never really heard a female artist write about that phenomenon. And I do think that there is a specific sense of that feeling for female artists in general. But really any type of artist, like, once you're past the breakthrough moment, people do tend to kind of look for the next thing. So we're really thankful. We recognize that it's rare, and it's just it's been like, I tell people lately, Paramore is like the ride that I have been on. It's the lens through which I've seen the world and a lot of different circumstances. That's my vantage point, right? So yeah, there's not even really a word for it. We're just really grateful.
Well, no, your fans most certainly love you, hence why they made This Is Why hottest record of the year last year.
Yeah.
They came through.
Unbelievable.
Well, it's very, very well deserved. You did mention Taylor briefing, that she's so obviously excited to, like, know you as a friend, as a fellow, like, artist, and sort of getting back into the mode of, like, touring. Does it feel good to have another friend in the industry that you can look to your left or look to your right and be like, okay, you get this, like, outside of the guys?
Yeah, I do need that. I need to be able to look around and see people that are experiencing similar things to me. I mean, Taylor, I would never compare our career to Taylor Swift's career, but the amount of years that we've both been in it, and that we've kind of we've been able to watch each other's journey and, you know, check in every now and then. It is very, very comforting. Especially because we're from, like, we both have lived in Nashville for so long. I mean, she's everywhere now, but like growing up here was it was formative. So yeah, it's good. And I was telling the guys recently, like, I've been super antisocial for the last 4 years, and I've really got to push myself out of my comfort zone as we get back into this, because there's so many artists that I love and admire and respect. And the person that I want to ask the most questions and that I just want to be in her brain right now today is Lizzo. I watched her documentary recently and I just cried. And, you know, artists that have so much purpose to everything that they do, it's just, it's so motivating to me.
Do you know what? You two are very, very, very similar in the sense that, like, yeah, she understands she's in the industry and in this machine and whatever, but she genuinely cares about being a whole person in everything she does. She's not here for the extras. She enjoys stuff, but that's not her driving force. I think you two would get on.
Man, I sense it. Well. I really sense it. She's wonderful, a great artist. But yeah, I think I sense that thing that you're talking about. That just, what a cool person.
To summarize, a real one.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Running Out of Time. I really, really enjoy this tune. Again, you can really feel the franticness of it.
Thank you. Yes.
When did you write this one?
This one, it was kind of early on. This was probably like the third or fourth song that we wrote, that we completed. And as soon as we finished it, we called our manager and we called our A&R guy, that, you know, same people we've been with since we were kids. We're like, you got to come by the studio and hear that. We couldn't believe we wrote it. And that's going to be, I can feel it, a really special one for us, like live with fans. Yeah. And plus it's nice to write in an album where, you know, like the context of the album, it can get pretty dark subject matter wise. And I really wanted to write a song that was just about something very typical for me, which is just terrible time management. It's not my gift.
Listen, sister, look, we are kindred. But the intention is always to be on time.
The best of intentions, and they get you nowhere on time.
But things happen, and it's really annoying. All right, well, let's get into it now for all the tardy kids out there. This is Running Out of Time. Okay, that was C'est Comme Ça on Radio 1. This is Future Sounds. It is a Paramore listening party talking all things This Is Why, track by track with Hayley from the band. So, C'est Comme Ça. French for it is what it is, or it is what it is.
Yes. I mean, honestly, we were all stuck in place during the pandemic for quite some time. And I mean, you know this because we've told you just in conversation about this record that the UK was definitely, like, I think we all were daydreaming a lot about being anywhere but America, but also specifically the UK. And then I think when my Wanderlust just kind of kept going wild, I just really missed our times in Paris and in France. Like we've had such wonderful memories as friends there, like roaming the streets, buying art, going to bars, and just kind of like hanging out and talking as friends. I missed all of that. And so I did want that to make it onto the record in some way. But it's funny, you know, the way my brain works. It's like, it's this little part of the song that gets repeated, you know, in French, but the rest of the song is just about being a total mess and kind of like your journey, like trying to become a better person. But my God, like it's so mundane and it's so safe and feels so boring sometimes. And like the excitement and the recklessness of, you know, like how sexy it can feel to just be a mess. I was kind of feeling the tug of war between those two sides of my life.
I hear that. I fully hear that. But there's tracks on this album that I think explore that, which we're going to get to. But now we're going to go into Big Man, Little Dignity.
Yeah.
Again, not holding back.
Thank you. Thanks. This part of the album to me is a great turning point because I feel like the first 4 tracks are, like the first 4 to 5 tracks too, are very like it just feels like the hits like to the face keep coming, you know, and I loved that because that was the whole essence of, you know, why we wanted to make a record again, is we missed the urgency of like those early aughts albums that we all loved, you know, like again, Silent Alarm, Block Party, Franz Ferdinand, all of that stuff would just felt like, you know, waves keep crashing into you and you can't reach the surface, but it's kind of wonderful and blissful. So when you get to Big Man Little Dignity, I feel like it's a nice breather. The tone of it, the melodies, it just feels a bit smoother, and it kind of leads you into the B-side of the record, which, yeah, I love the B-side of this album. But Big Man, you know, everyone has this character in their life. I think society, we like culturally, we all have experienced these characters. It's kind of like, you know, your typical like power hungry dude in the suit that gets away with everything. I mean, when you think of all the people in history, when you really just think of history and how this world has unfolded the way that it has, it's always some dude in power that can't get enough of it, that's just messing it up for everybody. So this is it's my commentary on it, you know.
I think that is more than fair. Well, let's hear it. This is Big Man, Little Dignity. We're talking all things This Is Why, track by track. So we come to You First. One of the lyrics that sticks out to me the most is, everyone is a bad guy.
Yes. Yes. And straight after Big Man, Little Dignity, I feel like it's an important segue into like the looking in, the internal conflict of just having like the dark and the light, your shadow self. Man, that's been a big thing for me this past little season of my life. I think like duality, kind of like challenging the concept of duality, knowing that there's so much gray area in everybody. But I have this tendency to want to simplify everything based on what hurts and what doesn't hurt. And I want to be like, this hurts, so that's bad. You hurt me, you're bad. You did this, you're terrible. Like, you're done. Like, cut off, right?
Hayley, can I ask you something very quickly?
Yeah.
What star sign are you?
I'm Capricorn.
Interesting. What's your rising?
Gemini.
I see.
A whole mess.
What's your moon?
Virgo.
Ah, okay. She's perfectionist. Got it. Okay. Lots of things are making sense now. I fancy myself an amateur astrologer.
Oh, I would love to talk about this. I want to get into that with you. Let's have some coffee and do that.
Yeah, let's do that one day. But interesting to know your placements. So, so as you're saying, looking inwards.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple songs on this record that I feel like I really tried to just grit my teeth and say a lot of searing things about how I feel about certain people. And it's not necessarily that I'm trying to name people. It's just it's like when you really think that you hate someone or something, and then you realize what poison that is, and then you're trying to put these things in order. It's the sweater that you can keep unraveling forever, and it drives me absolutely crazy. So You First was important because the beginning of the song, Living Well, is not my type of revenge. Like being in this band and having any level of success and feeling like I get to do what I love for a living, that doesn't always scratch the itch of like vengefulness that I feel about certain things that have happened in my life or that I've witnessed. And so that's why, living well is just a privilege. That's just something that you can either acquire, you can earn it, you can, be gifted it, whatever. But feeling a sense of vengefulness is insatiable, And that's the whole song. It's just being like, I have this petty person inside of me that's constantly like just screaming in my ear, and I have to be like, calm down. Chill out.
Yeah, I fully relate, and I'm sure so many people listening to this do, because it's tricky, because I think, on a good day, I'd like to think that humans are inherently good.
Yes.
Because I think we're born pure into this world, and then the world happens to us, and then that's where all the murky stuff happens. But then the pettiness comes out because you're just hurting, aren't you?
Yeah, hurt people hurt people. You know, it's like, it's just put it on a coffee mug. But I've really truly struggled with it, especially too because there's just been enough times in, you know, whether it's in my job or my family history, like there's just generationally, there's just a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain inflicted in my story, by men. And so I have to work that out. I have to not generalize. I have to also look inward or look in the mirror and be like, you know, where am I contributing to these cycles, and how can I get out of this pattern? How can I kind of like rise above those feelings? Because it's just the shadow, you know, it's the shadow that's always trying to like butt in and make you and distort the vision, you know.
For sure.
But it serves a purpose, and we need both sides to get anything done.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear it. This is You First. So that was Figure Eight on Future Sounds. As you said, we're getting into the B-side of the record. Talk to me about making this song in particular.
Figure Eight was pretty exciting because we knew that there were a lot of new fans kind of joining the party and finding us during the break. And, you know, there was a sense of pressure, like, okay, well, they're finding this older version of us. A lot of the songs that are like trending are heavier songs or are more popular songs. And so I think whether we wanted to admit it or not, there was pressure to like rise to that or to show up for that. But, you know, we don't know how to rehash stuff. It gets boring, and we have to kind of figure out new ways to come into, you know, sounds that might even sound familiar for us. It's like we just have to do it. We have to figure it out on our own. And Figure Eight was like the first heavier one that we started to work on, and we were really excited about it. We were like, oh man, yes, this scratches that itch. And I loved the pre-chorus was kind of the first part that we wrote. Once You Get Me Going, I Don't Know How to Stop is kind of just me recognizing this, once you're back in the machine, it's very easy to be sucked up into this, like you're just kind of, the undercurrent takes you, and that is how it feels, I think, to be in industry. And music, you know, whether I want it to be or not, is an industry. And I knew once we kind of switched back on that it might, like, I might be swept away. And I also recognize that I've given so much of myself to it that I resent it at times. And I just have to be careful. So I was watching American Psycho constantly while making this record, and I was thinking about workaholic, you know, that whole workforce culture and what that does to a person, and how it kind of like turns you inside out until you don't recognize yourself. And that's what it's about.
All right, we're going to get into my personal favorite on the album. This is the absolutely beautiful Liar. Honestly, like, I love a song that on first listen, you're just like, where have you been all my life?
Oh,
you know?
yes.
It's stunning. It's so beautiful. Like the melody, like the softness. Is it comforting for you to sing in that way? Because I guess so many people are used to you just belting these big notes.
Yes, man. It is so comforting. I got to do a lot of that with my solo projects, and I did want to find a way to weave some of that into like Paramore's landscape, because it's just been, man, it's hard to scream and yell for like 2 hours at a show. I'm trying to like have some pretty moments where I can sit back and just sing, because I love to sing, you know. And this one's really fun to sing. But when I got the music, I remember Zach and Taylor were in this room in the studio, and I was somewhere else just kind of probably working on another set of lyrics or whatever, and they were like, oh, we want to show you this. And I just thought it's so beautiful, and we needed something that felt like that, you know. We wanted that piece on the record, and I don't think any of us saw this one actually coming. So this is probably the thing that I'm the most proud of in terms of writing about love. It's the piece of lyrics that I'm the most proud of. I have a tough time writing about love. I always like to darken it with something, and it has felt darkened throughout my journey. And where I'm at now, I feel so relieved, to actually understand that healthy relationships are a reality. They can exist. You don't have to fight. It doesn't have to feel like a war all the time in your mind or between. And so I really appreciate that this song came to us and happened. And I can't wait to play it live. Oh my God.
Well, it truly is my pleasure to get into it now. This is Liar. Crave, as featured on This Is Why, the latest album from Paramore, the 6th album from Paramore. And Hayley joins me for a listening party. So I've got to ask, how ready are you to tour these songs in the UK?
I'm so ready. You have no idea how ready I am. I'm like over here, like on, I don't know what the websites are over there, but I'm like, how do I find a flat to just own so I can be there anytime I want to be there? That we love it over there. Y'all are gonna get so sick of us like kissing your asses saying how much we love it.
Oh please, I think the feeling's mutual. Like I'm always a bit like, oh no, she must think that we're like obsessed with them, but we like sort of are, and that's okay. I know you did an album release show. I know you like treated fans to performances of the tracks. I did hear that you incorporated WAP into Misery Business. How did that go down?
I don't know, man. I just like it's the song that I have to take the out of at every chance that I get, because there's just been so many think pieces written about it. It's been like the blessing and the curse of our band's career, right? It broke us through. It got people's attention. We were so young and wide-eyed, and it was like very exciting, but it's really it's also for people that aren't fans that have followed our story. They hear this bratty, catty song and they're like, oh, that's what Paramore is. And I'm like, no, that's what we were. But we're still trying to bring, those memories forward, because there's so many people that come to the show that like, they deserve to have that song played for them. Like they have memories to it. And I want to see, fans on stage holding the mic, and like basically like that microphone is power for them in that moment, and it brings them to life. So Misery Business is hugely important, but I love to make fun of it at the same time.
Well, Hayley, this whole album feels like one for the fans, and now we come to the end of it, the finale, Thick Skull. How do you choose the song to end the record?
Oh man, that is always a tough one. Like, it really is always a big conversation in the studio. But like, Thick Skull was the first track that we wrote for the record, and it remained special, like the same kind of special. Sometimes like it's like you write something and then time passes, you're like, oh, that's cool, but like we wrote all these other things now that we like more because they're newer. Thick Skull like never lost its shine, and it also is very, it's just like a very exaggerated autobiographical retrospective on our career and all of the things that people have said about the band. It was some tough years, right? I mean, especially like our early days in the UK, like it was a pretty tense relationship that we had with press, with media. And now we close this chapter, this moment in the band's career, and I leave it and I just let it sink to the bottom of the ocean, and because I don't need that anymore. It's not helping me. It's not helping the band. We're fine. Like, we've honestly never gotten along better than we do today. We've never understood each other as people more than we do today, and I think that foundation allows me to air some of these fears and these questions and heal from it. So I'm immensely proud of Thick Skull. I can't wait for this one live too, because I think it's more than an ending to the record. It's a real like jewel in the crown of our story, and it means the world to me.
I love seeing you smile as you explained all of that. And that's how I know that, like, look, as you said, like, you're working for your stuff, but you just seem very like, this is us.
I appreciate it so much, man. It's so funny writing a whole record and kind of like trying to grow, and then like you do interviews with people and in front of people.
And there's part of me that's like, I'm supposed to have it all figured out. And so I keep reminding myself, like, no, like, this is still the journey. Like, I'm still on it. We're all still on it. And it's okay to let people into it and be, you know, embarrassing or cringy or like not know all the answers. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, facts only. Hayley, it has been an absolute joy. We say goodbye for now. We will see you when you're over here in April. We cannot wait for those shows. And yeah, we are seeing this out with Thick Skull from This Is Why. I am delighted to say that This Is Why has been voted the hottest record of the year.
Hey!
It belongs
That's
to
amazing.
you. Is there any sort of acceptance speech you would like to give the fans for making your tune the hottest record of the year?
It's like kind of surreal that you guys would vote for our music more times than you voted for Arctic Monkeys. And the 1975, that's a huge compliment. It feels a little scary. And we're just so grateful. I don't know. Is there anything else? I guess you're all a bunch of introverts too. I don't know.
It's really that, to be honest. Paramore, good evening.
Hi.
Hey!
Hello, Hayley. Paramore, good evening.
Hi.
Hey!
Hello, Hayley.
Hi.
Hello, Zach.
Hey!
Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
So, guys, as I mentioned, the Radio 1 listeners have been voting and voting and voting and voting. There are 20 on this list. There can only be one winner. And I am delighted to say that This Is Why has been voted the hottest record of the year.
Hey!
It belongs
That's
to
amazing.
you. Your,
Go.
your fans are so in love with you, are so dedicated, are so hardcore. When I tell you, it was like a landslide vote. Like, you ran away with it.
Oh my God.
The competition was tough, but like, yeah, you guys did it, man. Like, alongside a lot of big British artists in 1975, Sam Smith, Arctic Monkeys, you murked them all.
That's crazy, first of all. That's insane.
But it really
Thank you.
happened.
Cool.
It really happened. I want to talk to you about, I guess, what that means to you, because, you know, when it comes to that, like how you release records, like you guys came in a little Q4 moment. You're up against songs that have been out since the start of January. What was it about the timing of This Is Why that you think has made your fans love it so much?
I mean, I wish that I knew. I wish I understood timing and music and all of that stuff. I feel like this is when we finished. We finished in time to get a song out before the end of 2022, and we were so pumped because we really didn't want the year to end without kind of coming back into the fold. So it's just so, it's really meaningful because, you know, you and I talked about this a little bit, but shows that we've played in the UK and specifically fans in the UK have been such a huge inspiration for the entire album. And it's just, it means a lot. It's really sweet that this won. What a surprise. It's crazy.
Well, we're definitely going to have to celebrate with you in person when you guys are back over here in April. Zach, I remember when myself and Hayley were talking about this tune specifically. This is one of the songs that maybe almost didn't make the record, right? It was like one of your sort of last entries to it.
Yeah. I mean, Taylor kept the song alive for sure. I mean, Hayley and I kind of we kind of checked out of the record. It was the very last song we wrote for the album. We were like, oh, we're good. We're done. We got 10, right? You know, we just had a number that didn't even matter. I don't even know if we had that. We just kind of were like, we're done, right? And Taylor was like, well, there's one more song. It's got a kind of a cool riff, and I wanted to open it back up. And thank God he did, because that was the first song we put out, and it was the album title. I mean, all of it. But it definitely was going in and making that song was really cool because it felt very like, I don't know, not that we put too much pressure on ourselves, but it definitely felt the most free flowing of the whole record. It was just kind of like, sweet, we can try all these tricks that we've accumulated along the way. It was really cool. So yeah, it's really Taylor who saved the day on that one.
Taylor, I've got to ask you, like, what kept hope alive?
I think just, we met one time with Rick Rubin, and it was the wildest experience because I just felt like we should not have been in his presence. But one of the things he told us was, he's like, just keep writing until your songs get worse. And we never really followed that bit of wisdom ever. And I think this time around, we got to the end and I was like, man, I just wonder if we have something left, and like, let's just try. And so we tried, and so then we came up with This Is Why. So that's pretty much it.
And I kind of think that fans feel that too, a little bit, like there's this freedom in the song. I think that's also back to your last question. I think that's why people are digging it so much, is that it's just really, like they can hear the enjoyment that we have making it. And I think that also being away for 4.5 years was like also another reason why people are really stoked to just hear anything from us, I think, because they were like giving fans water after being in a desert for
we were thirsty. We were thirsty for sure.
How many times can you listen to Misery Business? It's only so many times. Ain't it fun to get a little bit not so fun after a while?
Please, can you just stay on and make puns out of each and every one of your song titles?
You got it. I'll be here all day. There's a couple records. There's 6 records.
Listen, we could do a whole podcast like out of it. Speaking of which, Haley, look, the podcast, we discussed it a little bit last time you were on, has been so loved by our listeners. Are you ready to give us some more in between tour? No pressure.
I would be happy to. I really, really loved doing it. It was like such a good exercise for me, and I love discovering new music and talking about it and being a nerd. So yeah, sure, why not?
Well, we've seen how you guys brought in a favourite British artist of ours, Pink Pantheress, in the States. That was such a fun moment.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was really cool. Well, it was extra cool because, like, that story that came out with the interview where she was saying, like, I guess she saw us at Reading and Leeds, and that was kind of the beginning of her dreaming about having this career. It was like a really cool full circle moment that we got to be a part of. I loved that.
So, you're going to be back in the UK in April.
Yeah.
You teased us a little bit about it last time, but now it's like fully happening. Like, when you're going to be here, are you going to have time sort of like in between to sort of like, I don't know, like go record shopping or like, I don't know, check out other bands? Or are you guys very like, okay, we're in work mode now? Like, it's just
bloody hope so.
Did you say bloody hope so with a British accent?
Yeah. No, not in a British accent, but I did say bloody hope so.
Right.
I hope we do, because I mean, that's like one of our favorite places to tour. But we, especially Haley and I are always like, let's go do this, let's go do that. And then we get to the tour and we're like, all right, see you in the dressing room, because that's probably all the time we have. But I don't know, Haley, what do you think? Taylor, do you think we'll do something?
I think we love to do vintage, like shop at vintage, like thrift stores and stuff, and definitely record shops. We found a lot of great records in shops across the UK. Like, what was that record you saw in the window, Zach, that like you didn't realize that you...
Yeah, it's called Heart of the Congos by the Congos. It's like a old reggae record. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much.
I went to grab the door for the record store, and it was like the guy had just locked it. So I was like, so I had to just like look it up on Spotify and get it on vinyl later. But it was the thought that counts. Like, I almost went in and bought it.
Intention is everything in this life.
Yeah.
You know. The question begs, when are we going to get you guys back to Radio 1? Because I like to feel that you guys are obsessed with us as much as we are with you.
Yeah, there's some songs that we need to cover. There's some things that we need to get into.
I'm just saying. Like, I'm going to put this out there. I would very much like to hear you guys cover Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras. I feel like you could just... I mean, no pressure, but like, I mean, off the top of your head, if there was something that you guys would want to cover right now from any era or currently, like who would you be looking at? I don't know. That's a big question.
That is a really big question. Do you guys have any thoughts?
No, then it wouldn't be a surprise, would it?
That was cleverly swerved.
Hey.
That was.
You're a professional. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. And once again, congratulations on having the hottest record of the year. Because honestly, we have missed you so much. So we're going to celebrate and get the record on again. And also, of course, we cannot wait until April. So just a reminder, where can people catch you in the UK?
Well, we definitely want people to catch us at the O2 because we're coming back to 2 shows at the O2, the first time in like a decade since Zach was in the band the first time around. Like it's going to be so exciting. We can't believe that we're playing this place, and we just are so pumped to see fans over there because they are like lifeblood to us. I'm so pumped.
Okay, well, look, we're going to let you go. But before I do, I got one more question to ask you. You know, a big, profound, wide question. What has been your highlight of 2022?
Highlight of 2022 for me has been just getting the band back together and playing shows. I mean, it's been, you know, like 4 years, and seeing putting a song out and seeing the reaction of fans in real time has just been absolutely amazing. So I'd say for me, it's definitely like being able to play shows again and see, because there's one thing about putting music out, like a lot of us did during the pandemic, but you don't really see people's reaction. You just see the online reaction, I guess. So being able to see people's reaction in person was probably the highlight for me.
Right on.
Yeah, I feel that. That's me too. I mean, it's just nice to know we can still do it.
And also I have to sneakily say, one of my highlights has been people doing perfect syncs of your performances over Afrobeats. It's been, I know you've seen it. If you haven't.
Wait, I've not seen that.
Are you joking? Guys, okay.
Some of that.
Let me let you into a little secret. As if you did, I don't know if you didn't know this. There's a whole discourse on social media, essentially called "Black People Love Paramore."
Good.
A lot of, particularly people in the West African diaspora, which I am part of, they have laid performances of you guys over like really popular Afrobeat tunes, and it's uncanny how things like line up. But yeah, get on TikTok, knock yourself out. The content is out there. Yeah, get into it. You're very much loved by us. Enjoy. Paramore, it has been a delight, always is. We will see you in April. Congratulations once again, and let's play it. This is your hottest record of the year. This is why. We've got a big old tour coming up in October and November. That's in the States. When are we reeling you back over to the UK?
Oh, it won't be long. I have to tell you, and I said this a lot on the show, the Everything is Emo. We talked about the UK more than we've ever talked about it while making this record. We were like really digging up our oldest influences that are from across the pond, and we were like, every time I would imagine or envision like playing a show, it was, you know, some festival in the UK or some crowd that we've played for, like in Manchester or something. You know, we just have such a cool relationship with our fans around the world, but there is something really special about the UK and like the lineage of bands that are from there. And yeah, I can't wait. It won't be long. We already have the plan, and I cannot wait for people to find out like who we're playing with and what we're going to do. I'm so excited to get back over there. You can't believe it, how excited I am.
Williams. Hayley V. Williams.
Good to see you.
I'm just happy to see you. You're somebody that's discussed a lot via other artists on this show. To actually have you here is a delight.
That's great. I am humbled. It's really, really cool. And it's really, really exciting to like enter back in, because I've been sort of a fan for like 4 years now. And so being an artist again is quite interesting and really exciting. And it's great to start with you. I'm so excited. Yeah.
So let's talk about This Is Why. Like, do you know what I love about this song? This is the epitome of the opposite of Catch Me Outside. How about that? Like, this is, it's like everything that is not.
Right.
Which I just love, because you know what, don't get me wrong, I love to go out as well. But, you know, how we've been living over the past few years has definitely changed us, you know, from the inside out. So talk to me about that and what you put into this tune.
I mean, I grew up being on the road and being very much outside, very much, you know, around all types of people. And that was so good for me. But I kind of learned how introverted I really am on this break. And we all really needed it. We all needed to find out like our identity apart from ego and Paramore and all of that public projection that we get in our life. So it was really great. And obviously none of us knew we were going to be sort of forced all the way inside. But I think if you talk to anybody, like, it was such a really ridiculously tragic time. And then there was this weird, you know, core to all of it that I feel like everyone that really had to spend time alone was like, man, I learned a lot about myself, and I think I needed it. You know, I don't think I would have slowed down. I don't think I would have gotten time with my family or whatever. For me, I was so glad that for 2020 and everything that it entailed, and 2021, that I was glad we were home, because we were part of our own community in Nashville, and we got to be a part of it as citizens and as, you know, friends, as a daughter, as a sister. And it really wasn't about Paramore. I needed that. I just realized like how grateful I was for a feeling of safety.
Look, every movement, every period in time needs a soundtrack, you know, and I think there's something about this song. It's true. It's a rallying cry, isn't it? Like, this is what, like, are you already kind of envisioning the fans just like barking it back at you?
Yeah, I thought about our fans, and I thought about the shows the whole time we were writing the entire album, but this was the last song we wrote for the album. And when it happened, and it just was like that blend of the funky, this what we learned from making After Laughter and what we tried to implement in those songs, and then bringing in a little bit of the grittier stuff that we've had throughout the rest of our career. It was like, oh yes, we figured out a way that feels right for us to blend it all. And I can't wait to play it live. I'm so excited. We're playing it on this upcoming run, and I mean, yeah, I just can't wait. I have no idea how I'm going to move to it and dance to it, but it'll be fun to figure that out. And
a casual little two-step will always take care of you, I find.
That's right.
Always.
That's
always. Right. So look, you mentioned you're going on the road. You got a big old tour coming up in October and November. That's in the States. When are we reeling you back over to the UK?
Oh, it won't be long. I have to tell you, we talked about the UK more than we've ever talked about it while making this record. We were like really digging up our oldest influences that are from across the pond. And we were like, every time I would imagine or envision like playing a show, it was, you know, some festival in the UK or some crowd that we've played for, like in Manchester or something. You know, we just have such a cool relationship with our fans around the world, but there is something really special about the UK and like the lineage of bands that are from there. And yeah, I can't wait. It won't be long. We already have the plan, and I cannot wait for people to find out like who we're playing with and what we're going to do. I'm so excited to get back over there. You can't believe it, how excited I am.
I'm ready. A face full of happy secrets.
Yeah.
I can see. Now, before I let you go, got to talk about album. Can you exclusively let us know what it's going to be? Drum roll, please. The album is called...
It's called This Is Why. It's the title track of the album that we're putting out first. We felt that strongly about it. And also, every time I answer a question that I can't believe is happening, whether it's about the planet, politics, social stuff, I'm always like, man, see, this is why we can't have nice things. You know, like it's always that. So I'm really pumped. I know we're going to see you soon.
Oh yeah. I'm holding you to that. We'll see you at some point in 2023.
Yeah, unless I can find a way. I'm always looking for an excuse to hop over there.
Well, maybe sooner, but until then, Hayley, always a joy. Let's get it on again. The titular track from the forthcoming album, tonight's hottest record. This is Paramore with This Is Why.